In this week's episode, we'll be discussing product research. I'll be going over 2 different approaches to product research with the steps involved in each, so be sure to stay to the end to catch everything. We've got a lot to cover in this video, so I don't want to take a lot of your time here. If you want to see more videos about product research and Amazon FBA, be sure to hit that subscribe button and press the notification bell so you know when I post a new video every Tuesday. Alright, let's dive into my computer.
Okay, so here we are inside Helium 10, and I'm going to show you a couple ways to look up potentially profitable products using their tools. So what we're going to do first is what I call the conventional method. So what we're going to do is go up here, and you can see all of their different tools. There's lots here. We won't be going into all of them today, but right now we're going to focus on Blackbox, which is their Amazon product research tool. So we go into here, the first thing you're going to want to check is what marketplace you're searching. Now, we're using the US marketplace, we're going to leave that here, but they have several here that you can choose from. So once you have that selected, you want to make sure you're on the products tab because we're going to try and narrow this down to specific products in this part of the research. So they have a bunch of different criteria here, and the first one we want to look at is categories. Now, you can select as many categories here as you'd like to search through, but I'm going to recommend you narrow it down to just one to start, and that will become more apparent as we move forward. But for now, we'll just select one, and I'll explain later why we did that. So home and kitchen is what we're going to go with for this search. The next category is the next criteria is the monthly revenue. Now we're going to skip this one for now. And again, I'll explain this a little bit later, but for now we're going to leave that blank. So we're going to pick up products with any monthly revenue. But then when we get to price, we're actually going to use this. So for the price range, we want to pick products that are not too expensive, because if you are a first-time seller or don't have a lot of capital, you don't want to source a product that costs too much money, because you won't be able to buy enough inventory to last throughout your expected sales. So we're going to put a cap on our price of the product at $30. But at the same time, you don't want to source something that's too inexpensive. Like if you buy a product, or if you source a product that costs $8 to sell, if your sale price is only $8, there's very little room for profit. So what I recommend is starting with at least $15. So this is a decent range that will give you lots of products to pick from. Now when it comes to review count, so review count matters, because when you're looking at the products on the front page, the review count can give you an estimate of how competitive that market is. So if you're looking at products that have 300 reviews each, and all the products have 300 to 500 reviews, it will take you a long time to get that many reviews so you can compete against these big sellers. So we're going to look for a product that is within this price range in home and kitchen that has a maximum number of reviews of 75. And now it comes to review rating. So this is the star rating on the product. And I have some mixed feelings about using this criteria. So what you'll find some experts suggest is that you put a max rating of 3.5 stars. And what this means is that the products we'll find will have some room for improvement. So what your objective there is to go into those listings, go through the reviews, and find out what problems the customers are reporting. And this will allow you to improve on those shortcomings, and therefore your product will be better and ideally will sell better than theirs. The problem I have with this is that a lot of times I've found that either the areas that can be improved upon aren't noticeable to the window shopper. So if you were to take your product photo and put it up against this 3.5 star product, your differentiation may not even be noticeable to the potential buyer. And therefore your entire appeal, all this improvement you've made, will go unnoticed. And the other option is if you need to make a change to how the product functions, that can be quite costly because your manufacturer will need to create a brand new mold, and they may charge you a hefty fee to create that mold. And then you need to test it, make sure it works to your specifications. And then if it does, then obviously order your inventory. But if it doesn't, you got to get another mold made. And so there's some risk and a lot of cost involved. So I'm not a huge fan of using the review rating as a criteria. So we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to leave that blank as well. Now the next one here is the shipping size tier, and this one I definitely do recommend you look into. And when I do my product research, I use small standard size and large standard size. And the reason for this is when you ship items out of Amazon, so a customer buys your product and then Amazon ships it for you, they charge you a fee to send the product. And if it is a large item or a heavy item, they will charge you a lot more for that shipping fee. So if you keep it a standard size item, your fees will be a lot lower. So we filled out all the categories here, and you might think we're done, but not quite, because now we're going to go into the advanced filters. Now I don't want you to feel overwhelmed here, because there is a lot of information here. We're not going to use all of it, but I will walk you through the ones that we are going to use. So we're going to start with monthly sales. So we're going to use this instead of the monthly revenue. And the reason for that is the goal I look to set is I want to sell a certain number of units per month, as opposed to how much revenue I want to make from my one product a month. So with that, I'm going to say I want to sell approximately 10 units a day. So on an average 30-day month, that's 300 units. So we're going to say a minimum sales of 300 units per month. The next category or criteria we're going to use is the number of sellers, and we're going to set that at 2. The reason for this is we want to weed out all of the wholesalers. So if there's a Nike shoe listing and there's a dozen sellers on it, we're not interested in selling that kind of product. We're looking for private label products where there's only 1 or 2 sellers. And the reason there could be 2 sellers is one person could have created this private label product, and then another seller could have purchased a bunch of their inventory and then have listed it on that same listing. This does happen. It's happened to me. So just so that we don't weed out any potential opportunities, we're going to put 2 so that we can capture those scenarios as well. The next criteria we're going to look at is fulfillment. So I'm going to suggest clicking off FBA, which is the fulfilled by Amazon, because that's the route we're going to be taking. So we want to look for products that we're going to be competing against as FBA products. Now you may want to include FBM, which is fulfilled by merchant. Now these products are actually shipped out by the seller themselves, so they are not part of the Amazon Prime eligibility. That means it could potentially take longer for the product to arrive to the customers, and that could be your edge if you find a product that is sold by the merchant and then you can offer 1-day shipping through Amazon Prime. So that's definitely something you want to keep in mind. For variations, now we don't want to find things that have a lot of, like for instance, clothing that has a lot of sizes. You don't want to deal with anything like that. You want one variation. But again, to weed out those variation categories, but also we don't want to eliminate too many things. We're going to put a maximum variation of 2 because sometimes you'll find products that you can still sell with 1 variation even though that listing has 2. And finally, we're going to use the weight. Now, we're going to put a maximum weight of 2 pounds because anything over that, your fees could drastically go up, not only with your Amazon FBA fee, but trying to get your shipment from China to the Amazon warehouse. If you're paying, you do pay by weight. So if it's too heavy and you're buying 500 units, then that adds up real quick and your fees can skyrocket. So try to keep your first product under 2 pounds if you can. So then we're going to hit search. And Helium 10 will scan all of Amazon and find all the products that meet our criteria. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of different products here. So they're all within our price range. They're all at least 300 monthly sales. And then we can extrapolate the monthly revenue and the reviews. So that's great. However, when you do a search on Helium 10, it will only ever show you up to 200 products. So if your criteria returns more than 200 products, you will not see them. And you could be missing out on potential opportunities. And that's why you want to narrow your search. So this is why we went with only home and kitchen, because I knew if I selected up to 2 categories, we would get a lot of results. So how do we narrow this down to under 200? Well, for the categories and criteria we have chosen, I'm going to change our price range. So I'm going to start by changing this from 15 to $30 to $15 to $16, which is a very big change. But let's see what happens. We hit search. Okay, we're down to 25 products. That's a lot more manageable, and now we know we're capturing everything. So what we do now is we scan through these listings and we look for a product that catches our eye. Let's go with this one for just as an example. So it's the 50-pack battery-operated flameless tea lights. So we can first go look at the listing by clicking on the Actions button over here, and we go to the product page on Amazon. So it's got a good listing, it's got nice photos. You can see here that Helium 10, if you have the Chrome extension installed, it will do an evaluation of the listing. So this image is not on a white background, which is part of the Amazon Terms of Service, so it failed that check. But everything else seems to check out. They've got a whole bunch of images. They've got a reasonably length title. They've got 5 bullets. So that's a nice little tool to keep in mind when you're looking at for ways to improve the listing. So anyway, what we want to do from here is we want to see how the market looks. So we know this product in particular meets our criteria, but we need to see how the market for these lights are. So I'm going to guess that the main keyword here is flameless tea lights. So we're going to go to Amazon. Make sure you go to all departments, and we're going to type in flameless tea lights and search. Okay, so as you can see, all sorts of sellers are selling similar lights. So what we can do to check the market is we're going to run the Helium 10 Chrome extension, and we're going to use the X-ray tool. Now, if it's a big market, this could take a minute or two to populate, but this one went pretty quickly. So right off the bat, we can see that the keyword flameless tea lights has a monthly search volume of 3,600, which means this particular keyword every month is searched 3,600 times, which is not bad. We're still going to wait for Helium 10 to load the data. Again, if there's a lot of products, it can take a minute or two, but it's worth it when you see the data that comes out. Okay, so now we have a breakdown of the average. So the average revenue on the first page here is $13,000, which is pretty impressive. The average price is 16, which is a great price point for what we're looking for. However, the average reviews of 766, pretty high. Now, when we're analyzing the market, the first thing we want to do, which I haven't done yet, which I really should have, is you want to eliminate the sponsored products. So you see the top 3 listings here have SP. That means that it's a sponsored product and the sellers are paying to have those listings show up at the top. So if you hover over the number on the left here, you can delete all of them. Okay, so lists are gone. They're removed from our listing. From our listing of listings. So we're now going to analyze the rest of the products on this page. Now, first let's look at the top sellers here and the revenue. The revenue is extremely high. You want to make sure that there's enough sales per month to make this worthwhile. And you can see like this one first listing here sells almost 12,000 units every month. 1,200 for this one, 6,500, 4,500. There's a lot of sales happening in this market already. And if we look at the review counts, so this is where it gets scary. 6,000, 6,000, 5,000, 1,100. So these are red flags right off the bat, but you know you don't want to get into this product as, at least in this keyword, as a first product. It is far too competitive to try and rank on the first page. But to continue with this example, let's just keep diving in just so we can look at all the metrics. You also want to keep an eye on the FBA fee. Now, this is going to vary based on size, weight, and the sale price of the item, but you can get an idea of how much yours is going to cost. So you can see here, this first listing, it's only $10, but half of the money is going to the FBA fee. It only leaves them $5 to cover the cost of the product and any PPC they're running. It seems like a lot of them are about half. This one, I don't know how they're making any money on this. Anyway, yeah, so you got to keep an eye on the FBA fee because it's going to give you an idea of how much money you have left over after you sell the product through Amazon. Another thing you want to do is this graph will show you the sales trends. So I typically like to look at either 90-day or even better yet, a year. Wow, that's surprising that. Okay, yeah, better go off for the year because it gives you a full year's range. But one thing you want to look at is the trend line, which is this black line right here. You definitely want a sales trend in the upward direction, which means that the sales are increasing over time and it's not a downward trend that is eventually going to wear out. But what you also want to look at is the blue line here, which is how many sales this product has made. And if you can see over the span of a year that it only has one spike, that it means it may be a seasonal product and you may want to be wary of buying it. So what we can see here is a lot of people have more, more people are buying this from September through February, but it seems like in the spring it's not as popular, and for some reason July is super hot for this product. Anyway, if you look at all times that have a similar trend, now it just has random spikes. So this one is kind of hard to read, but at least the overall trend line is going up. So that is one positive aspect of this market.
All right, I know we've covered a lot of material already, but I want to check in to make sure you're still with me. Write Amazon FBA in the comments to let me know you're still here. All right, let's jump back in.
Okay, let's just open this one then. All right. We're going to go down and take the ASIN. So if you go down to the product information section, you can copy their ASIN, and we're going to go back up to black box. Now, we're going to go into what is probably my favorite tool in Helium 10, and that's Cerebro. And it's their reverse ASIN lookup tool. What this means is you can take any ASIN from Amazon, put it into this tool, and it will give you all the keywords that this listing is ranked for. This can be super powerful when you analyze whether or not there is demand for your product. Now, you may be saying, well, we already know there's demand because this product has tons of sales on Amazon. We just saw that. It has lots of sales, but what you need to know is whether or not the product is being searched for on Amazon. So it's possible that this particular listing has their own website and they're just using Amazon to fulfill the orders. So they could have their own social media and they just point all their customers to come to Amazon, which in theory means none of their customers are searching for this product on Amazon. You need to find products that people are searching for because your objective is to list the product, get it ranked, and then people find it organically. So when we look up this product, it has 19,791 keywords that is ranked for. Now, obviously, there's way too many, and there's no way we can go through all of them, but we can filter them. So what we want to do is we're first going to look at organic rank. This means where the product is ranked on the Amazon search pages. So obviously, if it's ranked number 1, we want to know, but we want all the keywords where this product is ranked on the first page. Now, depending on what device you're searching on, the first page could contain 16 keywords, 16 listings. It could contain 30. So to be safe, we're going to do 1 to 30. We're going to keep the word count at 2 because if you have a keyword with only one word, like candle or light, it's too vague, and you're going to get a lot of keywords that you just aren't interested in. And just to make sure that we have a decent search volume, we're going to have a minimum search volume per keyword of 300 per month. So we had almost 20,000, and when we apply these filters, we're down to 135, which is obviously a lot more manageable. Now this is currently sorted by organic rank, and so we can see the top ranking keywords for this product. So LED tea lights, flameless candles, flickering tea lights. So these are obviously very relevant keywords, and rightfully so. These exactly describe the product that we're looking at. So this can give you an idea of what keywords you want to target. And it'll go down and down, and this product's obviously doing well because it's ranked so high for all of these search terms. Now, what you can also do is you can sort by search volume. And when you do that, you're going to find the most commonly searched keywords. And apparently for this product, rose petals for romantic night is somehow the number one search keyword for this product. But I'm going to say tea lights is probably the more relevant one with 18,000, which is definitely a good search volume. So this can help you identify how much search demand these products have, which will tell you how much of a market Amazon has for this particular product. So that's the general overview of what I call the conventional method. So what we did is we identified products that meet our sales criteria, and then we also went to validate the market to see if there was demand for that product. But now I'm going to show you a slightly different way to do product research, and I find it like it's very neat. And it's also using black box, but instead of looking for a product, we're going to search for a validated market right off the bat. The way we're going to do that is by using the keywords tab. So what we're going to do is we're going to search Amazon for keywords that meet our criteria instead of products that meet our criteria. So we're going to search for the demand before we even look for a product. So what this does is it takes the keywords that we search for and it averages out the first page listings, and we're going to search for those averages. It's a little confusing at first, but let me explain. So we can hover over the question marks, so the estimated number of searches for the previous 30 days. So let's say we want a search term with at least 3,000 searches a month because we want to find a primary keyword to start. So we'll get into long tail keywords afterwards, but let's start with 3,000. Monthly revenue, let's leave that blank for a minute. Let's do our 15 to 16 again for the price point. Review count, let's do 100 this time. I can leave review rating alone. Minimum words in the keyword, I can say 2. Let's again go with kitchen and dining. Same standard sizes. Number of sellers, 2. And let's do FBA again. And we only found 3 phrases. And so this shows you how narrowed down we got. So the 3 we found here were plastic jars, popcorn boxes, ice cream cups. And I just realized I had selected kitchen and dining instead of home and kitchen. So let's just switch that for consistency's sake and see what we come up with. We got 12. So these are all keywords that people are searching for, and we can see all of their average first page stats right next to them. So let's see if we can find one that we like here. Pom-pom garland. So this keyword is searched for 4,800 times a month. The average price for products under that keyword are $15. The monthly sales are only 176. So not great. So maybe let's keep looking. Flower garland. Okay. So now it's a little more broad, but we got a lot more searches, a lot more sales, and a lot more revenue. So let's investigate this one a little more. So if we go to the actions button here, we can go to view on Amazon. And instead of taking us to a product page, it's now going to take us to the search page for that keyword. And now we can see what we're working with. We can see the various products on the first page. So what's great about this is we already know that this product is in demand and meets some of our criteria. So we don't need to find a product first that then validates the market. We can just validate the market right off the bat. So we can run the X-Ray Helium 10 Chrome extension, and we already know it had 9,500 search volume. And then we can analyze the first page. So I'm getting rid of the sponsored listing. And let's just take a look here. Okay, so the reviews, they're a little high, but what you want to be wary of here is look at this first seller here. They're doing really well at $83,000, but they have 1,100 reviews, and the next highest, well, there's 1,000 down here, which is also pretty high, but they are dominating the top 10. And so you want to be wary when there's one seller that everyone's flocking to. Sometimes it could be a brand name, but sometimes they may just have just the best social proof because they have so many sales already that people will just figure, oh, they all look the same, I'm not going to get that one. So be wary. You want to have a good distribution of sales amongst the first page. So we see everyone has a high rating, reviews are pretty high, but the sales are pretty good. Like they're pretty well distributed other than the first guy. He's got 6,000, so it's not terrible, but it seems like a very competitive market. I would stay away from this. The fee to price range is better than the last product we looked at. It's not all half, so there is definitely room for profit margin. And let's just say, look at the second guy here. You can see in a 1-year trend, oh, this one's actually going down. So yeah, maybe this is a product you don't want to get into. 1 year, this person's doing real well, but you can see they weren't even selling for this whole time. So you got to go into a bunch of different products and do an analysis to make sure that it is a market that you want to get into and it looks like a decent market. Just because this one keyword was good doesn't mean the actual whole market for these products are good. So you'll have to look at all the keywords and make sure that there is enough market demand for that product or for a product within that keyword. And so that's how I like to do my product research. I prefer looking for the keywords first because you know that there is search volume for this keyword. And if you can identify a product that satisfies that keyword, that differentiates enough from the other products, then you've got a winner. So just to go back to this page, you can see how these all look. These two, are they the same one? Yeah, the exact same one, but they have similar looks. If you can find a flower garland for this example that looks drastically different but still meets the criteria of being flower garland, you could have a winning product. So that's just one way. If you can find a different product that satisfies the keyword, that is one way to differentiate. And I actually find that might be one of the best ways and the least expensive ways because you aren't redesigning an existing product. You're introducing a different product to the keyword. It takes some creativity. It takes some thinking. It's not someone you can just pick up and go. You have to do some real thinking analysis. But I think it might be the best bet going forward in 2020.
As you can see, Helium-10 can do a lot to streamline your product research processes. If you want to give them a shot, there's a link in the description to get 50% off your first month. Just use code SCOTT50 at checkout. If you got any value out of this video, please give a thumbs up as it really helps with the YouTube algorithm, and make sure to hit that subscribe button so you know when I post a new video every Tuesday. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.